Good night, everyone. I'm here just to quickly give you an idea of who I am. I'm an independent candidate for the upcoming elections. I'm running for the post of General Secretary. And I just want to just give you a brief idea of what I'm about so you can make an informed decision. As Elizabeth said, my name is Barry Joel Desaine. I am currently the senior teacher at St South Government Primary School, and I am also the staff rep. Most people seem to have an issue that I have not been so involved in the union, so I'm going to just come right out and say that. And I acknowledge that I have not been so much involved in the union, except for the last 2 years or so, where I've been mostly as an observer, going to many of the meetings and the general council meetings and so on. And it had to do more because of my role online. Some of you may know me online on A Teacher's Voice. And it has been quite encouraging to try to be able to help teachers as much as I can. Now, a lot of my work in the past has been, in terms of how I spend my time, has been in academics, where I've been studying for a number of years. Of course, like most of us, I've been to college, and I did my teacher's diploma. I also did a diploma in computer systems design. I later on went on to do a bachelor's degree in management studies. In 2011, I graduated with a master's in organizational leadership with emphasis in the non-profit sector. All right, so when it comes to the theoretical knowledge to lead, I know I have the capability to do it. And when I graduated in 2011, by the way, I graduated at the top of my class. So I know I'm competent in that area. All right? I'm still studying. I'm currently a doctoral student. Focusing on leadership and social change. So academic-wise, I don't think anybody is going to question whether I have the ability in terms of the mental ability to do the job per se. All right, I have been involved in other areas of philanthropy besides A Teacher's Voice online, particularly in the church. A lot of my work has been there for the last 20 years. All right, so I am, very much known in that area in terms of my work, okay? Not that there's too much to boast about, because I know teachers on a whole, we are resourceful and we try to help as much as we can. All right, so that's what I'm about really. Now, people were questioning whether I would have the institutional knowledge to do this job, and so I wanted to demonstrate to people that I think I do have that institutional knowledge to do a good job. I've been making the argument to people, and you would do the research, you'll find out that it is not really experience that makes a big difference to how an organization performs. It is really the institutional knowledge. Because you can have people involved in an organization for 20 years and they don't know half of what's supposed to be done. So it's the institutional knowledge that's the critical factor, not the amount of experience you have. Research has shown that if you spend too much time in a particular area, in a particular office, your production level actually goes down after a while. So we need to be aware of the facts out there. With regard to the Office of the General Secretary, I have put together a visual to kind of break it down to people. I've been sharing this in many of the schools I've been to, and most of the times when I go there, teachers say, this is the first time I really understand what that office is about. And I want to just share briefly, there are many things that the Office of General Secretary is involved with. And I like to break it down in simple terms so we can remember easily. And I say that the General Secretary has to collate, to communicate, and to collaborate. All right, pretty easy to remember. To collate, to communicate, and to collaborate. Collation involves the regular thing that we all associate with being a secretary. Like the standpoint is taking the minutes. The secretary will be responsible for reports and keeping records, proper records of attendances, and so on and so forth. And the General Secretary has to do these things in regard to these areas. Okay? Good. On this side now, I'm going to skip there a little bit and come on this side. Collaborate. He has to collaborate with many departments, particularly when it comes to the presidency. He has to work along with the president with regards to the publicity and public relations. That's an area I believe I can be very helpful with, seeing that I have a lot of talents or abilities with regards to doing things like these, bringing presentation forward. I also have skills in making video productions. And I would invite you to look, if you're on Facebook, at Teacher's Voice to see the kind of video productions I could do. I did one so far regarding my candidacy that you're welcome to look at. I'm very much driven by excellence, achieving certain standards, and I will not sell myself short. So I decided when I came here, the schools I'm going to, I will show you what I can do. I'm not just going to talk it, I'm going to show it to you. So in terms of helping with the presidency with regard to publicity and public relations, I know I have the skills to help in that department. With regard to the first vice president's portfolio, which has to deal with professional advancement as well as the Central Executive Committee, the areas of education, for those of you who have been online, you know that I've been talking about education issues for the last 2 years. Across the board, all over the place I've been dealing with, and I usually present information not just based on what I think, but what the research says. And I think that's critical if you want to change the image of the association to one that is reflective of professionalism. So that's what I'm about. Okay, so these are the different areas. There are more committees as well that he has to work with. Of course, he has to work with all the officers in the national office. And initially when I got involved in this, I was actually asked by Mr. Cuthbert Joseph, the chairman of the Port Spring District at that time, to consider running for the post of first VP. And it was because I was so vocal about education issues. And my first impulse was to say, no, that's not me. I'm not going to get involved in a union, not at this point in time. I'm being honest with you. Most teachers out there are like that. I mean, fortunately, we have people like you who are here doing the hard work that some of us enjoyed over the years. And it was somebody actually from this group, Mr. Nisha Pierre, I will call her name, who challenged me and said, sir, you're talking a lot of good stuff, but what are you doing about it? What are you doing to help the association? And you know, I told myself, she's right. I have no right to say anything about anybody, about any organization, without saying, I'm going to do something about it. And so I stepped forward. And I began telling people online, get involved in the union. I began promoting the things of the union because I want to see a good union. You understand what I'm saying? Eventually I told Mr. Joseph, look, sir, I understand why you asked me to run for first VP, but let's be honest here. If something happens to the president, the first VP in charge, I ain't ready for that. Right? First thing. Second reason. Because I want to effect positive change in office. And the way to do that is to work with all the officers. And as General Secretary, I have more opportunities to do that, to effect positive change in every department. My skill area has to do with communication. I'm hoping I'm communicating with you here this afternoon. That is what I do well in, both in writing and even in presenting myself. I'm good at that. All right? I'm also good at collaborating with people. I tell people I'm not an aggressive person, but I'm an assertive person. And some of us need to know the difference. All right? So I know how to speak to people in diplomatic terms to get the job done. That's the bottom line. And the last area of the office has to do with communication. This is one area I excel in. I heard somebody say, we have a serious problem with our CUB website. I know I can fix that. All right? We have a serious problem with our CUB website. Unlike some people who want to keep their ideas, you're free to use that idea and tell people about it. All right? I am not the type of person who say, hey, that was my idea and these people take it away from me. No. That's not what it's about. It's about getting things done so that our profession will be given the respect that is required of it. That's what I'm about. I have looked at this department very carefully in the last year, and I identify a number of things that needed to improve. Some of these things may seem trivial, and other things might be very important. I think nobody needs to be convinced that we need to get into the technology, that we need to get online, that we need to have things better put in terms of our communication strategies and so on. I was at a meeting at CUREP, you would have seen it actually in the minutes. I was late for the last meeting because I was at a meeting in CUREP that had to deal with the UTT teachers. And at the meeting, the core group were asking questions in regard to where are we now? And I sat there and I couldn't believe. One IR officer is saying, I met with the CPO in May. The other one says, the second VP, I just came out of vacation. Mr. Martin Lumpkin went to that meeting, and I have to find out where we are. Understand what I'm saying? We are dealing with one issue, the UTT graduate teachers, and this arm of the organization have no idea what the other arm is doing. And that is a problem with this department. Because the General Secretary is the one who has that responsibility for the information flow. We need to do something about that. I am not here, I've been telling people, I am not going to be making promises that I can't keep. I made only 2 promises in the campaign trail in the last 3 weeks I've been to different schools. Number 1, this has to do with my personal belief. Number 1, that I will work heartily as unto God, wherever I am. If I'm a school teacher, I'm going to teach my children as though I'm going to be working for God. That has always been my modus operandi. If I'm elected to office, that's the way it's going to be. The second promise is this. I will not promise to do anything that I know I cannot do or is not likely to do. Having said that, these things listed here are the things that I am sure 100% that I can do. They all relate to the Department of the General Secretary, the Office of General Secretary. They are all areas that can make a big difference to how things operate in our association. I want to see our association be a professional association. We've done fairly well as a union. Really, we have done fairly well as a union. Some people will argue with that, but we've done fairly well as a union. But tutor was never meant to just be a trade union. If you read your constitution, you will see the first objective was to promote the cause of education. Reflect back in the last 30 years of our existence. Have we really promoted the cause of education? I want to end by saying this. I'm not going to ask you to vote for me. I'm going to ask you to look at each candidate carefully, see what they have to offer, and make an informed decision. That's all it is.